Evening and welcome to Rav Chaim Kanievsky, Secretary of College of Racha, Stories to Inspire. As we know, the Gadol Ador, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, we're still mourning and still the loss of the Gadol Ador, and tonight we're going to be trying to learn lessons from the Gadol Ador's life and lessons and that we can apply to our lives and the lessons and the mission and the teachings of the Rav. Secretary of the College of Racha, and that's what we're going to be doing here tonight. We're going to be hearing messages from 8 tremendous speakers and Rabbanim this evening. Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Nachman Seltzer, Rabbi Meir Simcha Sperling, Rabbi Eliezer Krohn, Daniel Koren, Rabbi Yaakov Rahimi, Rabbi Shlomo Landau, and Rabbi Yeshua Sova. Everyone should share this link right now, TonyTime.com/ChazakLive, so that yourself and your friends, family, relatives can all be inspired this evening. Again, watch right now, TonyTime.com/ChazakLive. Share the link to friends and family. Or you can call in at 718-298-2077, extension 46. Again, 718-298-2077, extension 46. This is being presented by the Chazak organization in conjunction with the Talisman, Stories to Inspire, Siyam Yomi, and Torah Anytime. As you know, the Chazak organization organizes amazing events and shiurim like tonight, every single night, in person and virtually, to inspire the Jewish people. Chazak's main mission is they have after school programs Sunday to Thursday in over 20 different locations, which inspires so many public school students, and with the ultimate goal of hopefully transferring them to yeshiva. In the last 5 years, all Chazak has helped transfer over 1,200 children from public school to yeshiva, which is a tremendous accomplishment. But everyone watching right now knows either a parent, a friend, a relative who has children in public school to transfer to yeshiva. Reach out to Chazak at 718-285-9132, 718-285-9132, or email us at psty@chazak.org, psty@chazaq.org, psty@chazak.org. I'd like to thank the Talisman and Samuel Epstein for the tremendous work he does for Klal Yisrael and for this event particularly. For all your Talis needs, for your Tzitzis needs, for your Judaica needs, reach out to the Talisman. If you need your Tzitzis tied according to Ashkenaz custom, Sephardic, Chabad, Breslov, whatever it may be, reach out to the Talisman at 856-745-9588, 856-745-9588. And if you need a tzitzis demonstration, a talis demonstration, you want to upgrade your tzitzis, your talis, reach out to the Talisman. So a special thank you to Daniel Aguilar, Stories to Inspire, which really inspires thousands of people throughout the entire world through their amazing quotes and stories and videos and audio. You should check out them at storiestoinspire.org, storiestoinspire.org. And I'd like to thank Siyam Yomi. And what is Siyam Yomi? What happens is that each day, 4,224 people, they say one mission that they took upon themselves. And every month, you change your mission together with Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people, and finishing Shishay Sijah Mishnah, the 6 orders of the Mishnah, every single day. Just like Shas Mishnayos, which constitutes of thousands of unique individual Mishnayos. However, when everyone joins biyachad as one, that represents a much broader scope called Shisha Sijah Mishnah. So too in Klal Yisrael, each and every Jew has their own uniqueness and approach to their service of Hashem. However, when united as one, each Jew comes together and combines it into a proud nation called the Jewish people, Am Yisrael. So everyone should find out more about Siyam Yomi and join on it. Don't just find out information, but join on it. You can find out more information at siyamyomi.org. siyamyomi.org, or you can call into the hotline at 718-664-9664. The way to remember the last 4 digits are Yomi, 718-664-YOMI, 718-664-9664. You could contact, find more information. You could contact 414-666-9664, 414-666-9664. Again, siyamyomi.org. And I'd like to thank Torah Anytime again for streaming this event, as well as for the tremendous work they inspiring millions of people throughout the world through their various shiurim, for men, for women, for young, for old, for people of all backgrounds. Thank you, Torah Anytime. Our first speaker tonight is our dear friend, Rabbi Ben-Zion Klatsko, founder of Shabbat.com, does so much tremendous work, inspiring Klal Yisrael through his tremendous efforts and koyach. Rabbi Ben-Zion Klatsko.
Hi, Shalom Aleichem, friends. This is Ben-Zion Klatsko, and I'm speaking to you on the Shloshim of Rabbi Kanievsky on behalf of Siyum Yomi. I was Zocha to meet Rabbi Kanievsky a number of times, and I want to share with you a quick story. I once came to ask him a shaila, and he had just began learning with a chavrusa. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to wait 1 hour, 2 hours, I'm not sure. But Rabbi Kanievsky looked at me and said, why don't you come and join us in the chavrusa shaft? And I sat and I learned with Rabbi Kanievsky, and the glow on his face and the simcha of not just learning Torah with the chavrusa, but bringing in a younger man and learning with him. Rabbi Kanievsky finished Kol HaTorah Kula every single year, and there was a simcha in saying, I know I'm able to teach, I'm able to learn, and it's just, it was an inspiration to all of us. We know the power of Torah can heal, it can be a segula, it can bring Rachmei Shmaya. And when we make a siyum, we're saying to Hashem, Kanievsky Yisrael, V'yaskim B'chedvas Adili. We sit and we engage in what makes Hashem happy. Siyum Yomi is a project that allows us to make a siyum every single day on all of Shisha Sudari Mishnah. It's very easy to do. All you need to do to be involved is to be makabel one Mishnah, the same Mishnah. Every day you can say it when you're unwrapping your tefillin, when you're putting away your tefillin. You could say to V'lach Techav whenever you want, you can say that Mishnah. And we're going to have one person for every Mishnah in Shisha Siddur Mishnah, which means that every day, every Mishnah will be learned by our Chevra of Siyum Yomi. And at the end of each day, we can then bait from Shamayim for Refuas, for Yeshuas, for Shidduchim, for Parnasa, all of the things that the beauty of Torah and the mazel that learning Torah and being engaged in Torah brings, we are able to bring through these siyumim. Easy to do. Take one Mishnah, you'll know it by heart, even if it's new to you, within a short amount of time, and you'll feel like you're part of a much greater whole, a fantastic unity of all the Klal Yisrael finishing Shisha Siddur Mishnah each and every day. Please sign up and join me.
Thank you, Rabbi Klatsko. Our next speaker is Rabbi Nachman Seltzer. As you know, Rabbi Seltzer is a best-selling author. He's a tremendous speaker. He's written so many biographies, so many tremendous books of stories and lessons, and he just came out with a new book on the life of Rav Yitzchak Shiner, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. Tremendous sefer with so many lessons. Pick it up right now, artscroll.com, or your local Judaica store on Rav Yitzchak Shiner, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. Our next, it's an honor. It's our great honor to call upon Rabbi Nachman Seltzer.
Okay, so everybody, I want to tell you the story. This is about Rabbi Chaim, and I know everybody's talking about Rabbi Chaim, and everyone heard a million stories, but I want to share one story with you that made a big impact on me. And I was still bach learning yeshiva in Yerushalayim. I went to my cousin's B'tach Tikva on Shabbos, and they started telling me about. I was talking to my cousin, Michal Lipsky, Shalom. He told me that he started talking about his new son-in-law. He said, my new son-in-law, Meir, learns with Chaim Kanievsky every Friday afternoon. So I was impressed. I remember this is going back a while, so Rabbi Chaim wasn't so well known, but still, it's a big deal. He said, yeah, they learned together for many years. Okay, I said, that's pretty chashuv. Like, how many people could say that they learned together with Chaim Kanievsky every Erev Shabbos? I didn't follow up with the story at that time, which, say there. I wasn't writing stories then. But years later, I was by the house of Shabbos again, and at that time, I would go. Me and my wife went for Shabbos, the kids for Shabbos to the Lipskys, and at that time, this son-in-law, Meir, his name is Meir Arava, he already had many kids, and I never really met Meir Arava. But one Hanukkah, we were there at this party, and he gave me a copy of his later sefer. He gave me a copy of the sefer. And he explained to me that every time he writes a sefer, he has another child. So I asked him, how many sperm did you write so far? And he told me 9. I said, and how many kids do you have? He told me 9. So that was very nice. So at that time, obviously I should have asked him, what's the story over here? What's the shot? Every time you have You write a sefer, you have a child. Well, what's going on over here? But I didn't. So what is it? Years later, some more puzzle pieces fell into place. And I learned the story. It was an exceptional story. Menachem Arava was Meir's father. He was a top-ranking officer in the IDF. Actually, not the IDF, the Israeli Air Force. And then he got interested in Yiddishkeit, and he wanted to spend some time figuring out things for himself. It wasn't so easy to do so in the environment that he lived. And then he had an idea. The Air Force paid for officers who had been in the Air Force for a number of years to take paid leave if they wanted to pursue a university degree. That was good for them. It was helpful in their careers. So Menachem Arav asked himself, what if instead of going for a degree, maybe the military will be willing to support me while I learn yeshiva? It's like going for a degree, in a way. It's a degree of higher learning. Well, maybe they'd be willing. So he goes over to his officer and he asks him, would the Army be willing, the Air Force be willing to pay for such a thing? So the officer said, I don't have a problem with this, but you have to clear it with the Ministry of Defense. And he did, he tried, and the answer he got was a no. So what did he do? He didn't know what to do, but he wasn't sure. He didn't want to give up the dream, but he wasn't sure what to do. Not long afterwards, the Arava family spent Shabbos in Bnei Brak. And during the hours he spent in this religious home, Menachem asked the host many questions he had on his mind. And he said, tell me, what is the name of the greatest Talmid Chacham living in Bnei Brak today? Who's like the leader, the gadol of the yeshiva world? So the host replied, that's an very easy answer. The name you're looking for is Rosh Menachem Shach, Rosh Yeshiva Panovich. So he said, can I talk to Rosh Yeshiva myself? So the host said, why don't you go over to Panovich and try? So Menachem Arava, lieutenant colonel in the Israeli Air Force, made his way through the congested streets of Bnei Brak until he got to Panovich campus. And nearby, that's where Reb Shach lived. He knocked at the door, Reb Shach welcomed him inside. He said, what can I do for you? So he told Reb Shach the whole story. He started becoming more interested in Torah mitzvahs, and he was a top military officer, and I had an idea, and I want to go instead of going to college, I want to go to yeshiva. So Shach said, what happened? He said, the Ministry of Defense didn't let. He said, in the next few minutes, Menachem Arava was treated to a scene he would never forget. It was then that he understood, just as there were generals sitting in Tel Aviv, coming up with campaigns and giving orders, there was a general sitting in a simple environment of Bnei Brak, coming up with brilliant campaigns and giving orders. Rashiva asked this Gabbai, the core of Shlomo Lawrence, who was then serving as a member of Knesset for Agudas Yisrael, and they asked him to come to Rosh Yeshiva, and soon Rav Lawrence came to Sir Shach. Rashiva said to Shlomo, isn't Agudas Yisrael right now engaged in coalition building with the upcoming government? He said, yes. I would like to put another clause in the agreement. What's the clause? It should say that any army officer would like to use the university degree, which the army normally encourages and pays for, to go and learn yeshiva, should be able to do so while being supported by the army, just as he was enrolled at the Technion and Tel Aviv University. This clause will state that the sabbatical year will be funded, whether it's a yeshiva or for a university degree. So Shlomo Lawrence told her, yeshiva, I'll take care of it immediately. That was that. What happened? Menachem Arava became the first officer in the Israeli Air Force to be fully supported by the Ministry of Defense. Okay. So it wasn't long before the Arava family left the neighborhood they were living, and they moved to an apartment in Bnei Brak. Nachman was living in Kola. He's studying day and night to try to make up for lost time. His children were doing well at their new schools. But Meir wasn't doing so well. His son Meir Arava. And when they first moved to Bnei Brak, Meir's name was Zohar. That was the name he had at his bris. And after being introduced to Chaim Kanievsky, things changed. Chaim said to me, you have to change your name. That's why. The Zohar is the name of a sefer, not the name of a person. So Meir said, what should I call myself? Call your name, you should call yourself Meir. Now, it might have been hard for him to make the change, but he had seen firsthand the power of Chaim's brachas. He had experienced a personal Yeshua to turn to Chaim for a bracha a short while earlier. So Meir trusted Reb Chaim implicitly, and he was willing to do whatever the Gadol said. So Meir, Zohar became Meir. He was 14 years old. He was having a lot of trouble figuring out how to read Gemara. All the rest of the class seemed to zip through the sugyas Bava Metzia. Meir couldn't figure it out. Everyone else was natural for them, but Meir, he had no success. So he goes to his father, he starts telling him, I don't know what to do, I can't figure it out. So when Nachman Rav listens to his son, he says to him, why don't you go visit Chaim and tell him how hard it is for you to learn Gemara? The Meir didn't feel so comfortable visiting Chaim. As far as the thousands of people go to Chaim. He said, I don't want to go. So what are you going to do? He said, I'll write a letter to Chaim. He wasted no time. He sat down. He wrote a letter to Chaim. He explained all his challenges. And Chaim replied, pending his reply, on the same letter that he was sent. Meir read Reb Chaim's reply, but he didn't understand what he was being told to do. So in the end, he decided to follow his father's advice. And he returned to the home of Chaim Kanievsky on West Bam Street, right next to Letterman Shul. He came to the Kanievsky home on Friday afternoon with a volume of Bava Metzia under his arm. Now, most times on Friday afternoon, people don't visit Reb Chaim. So when Meir came in, he found himself sitting with Reb Chaim. He told Reb Chaim all about yeshiva life, how he wasn't making it. Reb Chaim listened as Meir Rav poured out his heart. And eventually, the stream of words and tears came to an end. And he made a request from Reb Chaim. And he said, would I be able to learn with the Rebbe? Chaim stared at him. He said, I don't really have time to learn with new charusas. You know how busy I am, how many people come here every day. But Meir maybe surprised himself even. He reiterated his request. He begs Reb Chaim to learn with him. He's pleading with Reb Chaim. Please share with me the Torah you know so well. And Reb Chaim said, okay, well, let's learn. So Meir opened his Gemara. So the two of them, Reb Chaim and the 14-year-old boy, are sitting next to each other, studying like two charusas. They learned for an hour, and they finished Meir looked at Reb Chaim, and he said, Rebbe, yes. Can I come and learn with Rebbe next week too? It must have been very difficult for Reb Chaim to agree. He had so many commitments to his sibur, to his own learning. Maybe he was remembering a young boy named Chaim, the son of the Stipler guy, the nephew of the Chazon Ish, who also had, from what, not always was it the easiest thing. Sometimes he also had a few challenges when he was young. No. It's hard to know what was going through Reb Chaim's mind at that moment. All we know is what he answered. He said to him, you could come back to learn with me next Friday. So it began. Because once they learned Becharusa twice, it became a weekly kviyas. Meir arrived at Reb Chaim's home every Friday afternoon for the weekly session. Time passed. A year, and then another. Meir finished Yeshiva Gitano. It was time for him to transfer to Yeshiva Gedolah. His father wanted him to learn in a small yeshiva, but Reb Chaim had other plans. And he told Rabbi Nachman Rava, Meir is going to Panovich. Nachman said, but Meir should be in a yeshiva. That's right for him. Panovich is too big for him. Chaim said, no. Nachman, I know your son better than you do. And he's going to Panovich. It's already been arranged. So Chaim decided, and Meir went. So his father, Meir's father, met his Maggid Shir a few weeks later. He said, how's my son doing? He said, not so great. He's not getting along with the Bachram. He's very quiet. His father was very concerned. He said to Meir, I met one of the Maggid Shir from the yeshiva. He told me that you haven't been yourself. Not learning well. What's the matter? I don't feel connected with the other Bachram. I don't feel comfortable here. He said, his father said to him, why don't you discuss your feelings with Reb Chaim? So Meir did that. That Friday, he told Reb Chaim how he felt about the yeshiva. Panovich wasn't working out for him. Chaim's answer was decisive and it was unorthodox. He said, I don't want you to go to Shir anymore. So Meir said, what should I do instead? He said, I want you to learn the entire Masechta Megillah this week. The entire Masechta, daf after daf. On Friday, I will test you on everything you learned this week. That's what happened. Meir opened the Megillah on Sunday morning. He started to learn. He had a goal. He needed to finish the entire Masechta. He sat in the Beis Medrash. They learned from morning till night. He finished the Masechta by Friday. In that afternoon, he made his way to West Bam Street. The Rabbi was waiting to give him a test. Chaim tested him on time Masechta. I was satisfied he knew it well. Next week you will learn Tainis. He said on Friday I will test you on the entire Masechta. The next few years were incredible. Their incredible period of time, the life of Meir Rav. Every Friday, he presented himself to Kanievsky home. Chaim tested him on the material he learned that week. And then Reb Chaim would tell him what he wanted him to learn the next week. At some point, Reb Chaim started telling us to learn Tosfos, in addition to the Masechtas that we learned. Week in, week out, Meir was tested. It was long before he finished Shas. Now, Reb Chaim will begin learning sections of Mishnah Berurah. By the time he was ready to get married, Meir had learned vast amounts of Gemara and Allah. So he went to Reb Chaim and asked him, "What should I be focusing on after my marriage?" So Reb Chaim said, I want you to be in writing a sefer. He said, "A sefer on what topic?" Mishnah Berurah. I want you to go into the Chavetz Chaim's reasoning and the depth behind this Piskei Halacha. And he passes one way. I want you to delve into that and explain it. I want you to write a sefer that can be used to illustrate the reasoning behind what is written in the Mishnah Berurah. Meir didn't feel up to it. He felt it was too big for him. Chaim didn't force him. Meir and his wife were married for a year. Still didn't have a child. So Meir asked his Rebbe what he should do. I told you what to do, Chaim said. What? Write a sefer on Mishnah Berurah. So Meir wrote a sefer on Mishnah Berurah, calling it Meir Oz. The Mem stood for Meir. The Vav stood for the name the family called itself back in Poland. The Zayin stood for Zohar, the name he had before Chaim told him to change it. It wasn't long before Meir and his wife were blessed with their first child. Like I said earlier, every time Meir published another installment of Meir Oz, he was blessed with another child. This is the story of my cousin's husband, Rav Meir Rav, 14-year-old boy who had trouble learning. The boy who became a Chaim's Chavrusa. The boy would end up writing deep svarim on complicated matters of halacha. Imagine for a second what would have happened if Meir had gone to a different type of chacham who didn't see Reb Chaim's law, wasn't willing to do what Reb Chaim did. Maybe he would have sent Meir away. What would happen to all those dap of Gemara and finishing Shas with tests, halacha, svarim? How many Bachrim have been lost because nobody recognized the potential, took the time to help them realize what they could have become? But Reb Chaim was busier than anyone alive, did manage to find the time to learn with him, to help him develop into a Talmud Chacham. This story should serve as a lesson to every one of us about the potential that lies inherent in every single Jewish neshama. And let us act on that knowledge and change lives, just like Reb Chaim did.
Thank you, Rabbi Seltzer. I want to remind everyone to share the list link so that not only can you be inspired tonight, but so your friends and family can as well. Share it to your friends, your contacts. The link, TorahAnytime.com/ChazakLive, TorahAnytime.com/ChazakLive, TorahAnytime.com/ChazakLive. Or you can call in 718-298-2077, extension 46. Again, 718-298-2077, extension 46. It is our great honor to call upon our friend, our dear friend, Rabbi Meir Simcha Sperling, who has such energy, who inspires people through his shiurim online, in person, inspires so many people through his energy and his tremendous kayak, Rabbi Meir Simcha Sperling.
I would like to welcome everybody to this beautiful event, and I want to start off by thanking story students. I want to thank everybody that came here first. Thank the Eibishter. I want to thank Stories to Inspire for inviting me once again, and more importantly, for making this event happen. It's very important for us to be able to tap into the life of such a gadol hador, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Levracha, and to attach ourselves to him in a way that we will be able to change ourselves. Not enough just to hear the stories and to be entertained and wow, amazing, nisim v'neflayos mamish. We have to be able to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu because of our connection with him, and because of the stories, and because of all the different things that we hear. You know, there's unfortunately the way time works, as we all know. Once time goes on, in the beginning it's like very like whoa, and then after time it's like a little bit less whoa, and then it's even less whoa, and then eventually it just joins all the other legendary Gedolei Hadar and all their stories. But to be able to really tap in and grab something and hold on to something forever, in order to really change our lives, we have to make that move right now. Because, like I said, otherwise the closure of Reb Chaim Kanievsky is going to just be like any other, obviously great and inspiring, but any other great Gadol story and other previous Gedolei Hadar. And therefore, it's very important for us, for right now, which is already a few weeks later, to really try to tap into something and make a change and let Reb Chaim Kanievsky touch us so we could change and become closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, I want to thank Stories to Inspire for making such a beautiful event. The point of today's event is to walk away with something. So make sure at the end, from one of the speakers, from one of the Rabbeim, from one of the Chashuva stories that we hear, we have something to hold on to. Also, I want to thank Chazak for their amazing work, for all that they do for Klal Yisrael and for hosting as well. And last but most definitely not least, I want to thank Torah Anytime, the entire family, Shim and Reuven, the entire team, and all of their incredible work on behalf of the Klal. It's fascinating how much they do, if you only knew. I was actually zeichet to go into their headquarters. We were zeichet to go in, and it was beautiful. Mamish beautiful, unbelievable. And how much more there is to come. So kol hakavod to Stories to Inspire, to Chazak, and to Torah Anytime. And obviously I want to thank the Eibishter HaKadosh Baruch Hu for allowing me to come and give some chizuk and share some stories and speak about some beautiful things about this amazing Gadol Hadar. Okay. So I want to start off, actually not really start off, I want to share two stories with the Olam over here. They're stories that you already heard, I think. And you should know that when we talk about somebody so special, you're automatically going to have, repetition and stuff. Because, the famous Grasshopper story, I heard it 70 times already. It's an amazing story. It's a beautiful, awesome story. But we hear it again and again and again because we have a legendary person here. We have a Gadol Hadar. So a lot of the stories are going to be repetitive, but it could be that somebody's going to say it in a different way or add a little knetch here, a little knetch there that we could grab onto. But Mistama, the stories that I'm going to say. So Chazar is the Iker, as we always say. So before we get to the stories, I want to share something I heard from Rabbi Reisman Shlita, and that is a beautiful, very powerful Gemara. And that is the Gemara in Ksubas and Daf Kuf Daled Amud Beis, I believe. You have to take a look at the Marsha also with the Gemara just to understand exactly what it's talking about, but I want to share it the way I heard it from Rabbi Reisman. And that is that the Gemara says in Ksubas that, I think it's Kuf Daled, maybe it's Kuf Gimel, but I think it's Kuf Daled Amud Beis, that when Rebbe died, when Rabbeinu HaKadosh died, everyone who was in the room when he died had the schus to go to Olam Haba. They were Muchan L'chai Olam Haba. Everyone who happened to be in the right place at the right time, straight to Olam Haba. Now we all know, I hope we know, that there's no such thing as free Olam Haba. Yeah, you get up to the next world, like, I happen to be there. Who are you? I don't know, but I was there, so I go in. It doesn't work like that. There's no free Olam Haba. So what's the Gemara talking about? They happen to have been in the room where Rabbeinu HaKadosh died. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, he died, so now we go to Olam Haba? What's the pshat? What does the Gemara mean? So he said that anybody who was in that room was so affected, they were so changed as people, that it's not the pshat that they went to Olam Haba because they were there. No, they became people who lived their lives in a derech of Muchan L'chai Olam Haba. They were so changed, they were so affected. Something was triggered inside of them, that they now changed their life. And they geared it towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, towards Avodas Hashem, so much that they were Muchan L'chai Olam Haba. And that is the goal of the stories. That is the goal of today. The goal is that we should become people that we were so affected by Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Nevracha, that now we are people who are in a derech of going straight to Olam Haba. So I want to start off by just sharing. I keep saying start off. I want to continue by sharing his daily schedule. Every single day, the Seder Hayom that Reb Chaim Kanievsky did every day was 11 pages of Zohar, 10 prakim of Tehillim, 8 prakim of Tanakh, 10 simanim of Mishnah Berurah, 8 prakim of Rambam, 10 simanim of Torah Shulchan Aruch, 8 blot of Talmud Bavli, 8 blot of Talmud Yerushalmi, 8 prakim of Medrash, 8 daf of Kisvei Ha'ari, 8 daf of Kisvei HaRamchal, and then he would write down his Chidushei Torah. Fascinating daily schedule. Could anybody do this for one day? Anyways, he would make a siyum every year on Erev Pesach on the Zohar, Tanakh, Mishnah Berurah, Rambam, Torah, Shulchan Aruch, Shas Bavli, Shas Yerushalmi, Tosefta, Midrashim, Kisvei Ari, Kisvei Ramchal, every year. I'm sure you heard this before, but this year was a leap year. He finished and he made the siyum right before his P'tirah, before he was nifter. Fascinating, Rabbi say. Boggles the mind. Unbelievable, but just such a schedule. So the first thing I want to suggest is try to do this for one day. I'm joking. Do not try to do this one day. Rather, try to do this from 1 hour. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the way he learned all of these different things that he learned was with such a focus, such a clarity, such a passion, that we should try to do that as well. That means turn off your phone when you're learning for a half hour. What did I gain? What did I take from the stories of Reb Chaim Kanievsky that he was so focused on something? I also want to be focused. Now, I can't do his schedule, but what I can do is at least a half hour during first Seder or second Seder or night Seder, or when I listen to a shir, I am totally focused. So try to do his daily schedule for the next few years, or the next few months, or the next few weeks, that just a half hour of your learning is uninterrupted. And like this, we have taken something, we have grabbed something from Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Now, besides covering the entire Torah, I want to point out the mastery that Reb Chaim Kanievsky had. He had a say, it was a famous story, you sure know the story, but he had a sefer called the Talmud Zakra, which is on Chumash, which was published how many years ago? 40 years ago, 50 years ago, when he was a young man, or a much, much younger man. Take a look at Parshas Kiseitze, which talks about the Parsha of Gittin, of divorce. And he writes that somebody told him, B'Shem Hagra, the Vilna Gaon, that the Gimel and Tes never appear together in Tanakh. Right? Get is not a Hebrew word, a divorce. Sefer Krisus, that's what it says in the Torah, but we call it a get. We have a Sefer, Gemara, Gittin, but he says Gimel and Tes, separation. There's no Gimel and Tes in the entire Torah next to each other. All Tanakh, 24 books. And they asked Reb Chaim Kanievsky, is it true? Now let me ask you a question before we get to what he said. If I would ask you the first page of Bereshis, which letters don't touch each other in the first page, on the first line? Bereshis bar Elokim, as which letters don't touch? Like 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4. You start going like, who knows that? Who knows which letters don't touch on one page? Forget about the whole Bereshis. Forget about the whole Torah. Forget about the whole Tanakh. Reb Chaim Kanievsky thought for a little bit and he said, no, Taka, there is no Gimel and Tes that are connected anywhere in Tanakh. And guess what? There are 4 other combinations also that are not connected. What does that mean? The mastery to know which letters touch and which ones don't. It's fascinating. And what's the pshat? So obviously he had a huge mind. There's no question. He had a lot of siyata shmaya. But he had a passion for the Torah. What he saw, he didn't forget. It meant something to him. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, they say that he said, I heard it b'shem him, that he said that if anybody ever saw a bird lift up a building, you're like, what? You would never, ever forget that. Why? Because it's something that's so, whoa, I can't, did you see that bird just lift up the building? Dude, you're crazy, what are you talking about? No, because that has such an impact on you. It has such a roshim on you. If every word of the Torah does that to you, then taka, maybe you'll taka know. You won't forget. You'll know every letter, maybe. How chashuv is the Torah in your eyes? How important is the Torah to you? What does the Torah mean to you? What it meant to Reb Chaim was so much, so dear. This was life itself. Toivli Torah spicha. Better is the word of the Torah than everything in the world. Gold, silver, everything. And when it means something to you, then taka, it could change you. And taka, you'll remember things that nobody else will remember. Now again, I don't know if that's the pshat. Reb Chaim Kanievsky obviously had a mastery beyond our comprehension, but it could be something to take on upon ourselves, that, you know what, I want to have a passion. I want this to mean something real. It's just fascinating. It's really a Gimel and Tes in Tanakh. How many thousands of letters, thousands of psukim, to know which letters touch, which ones don't. His whole life was Torah. That was his whole entire life. And we have to tap into that a little bit. That's story number 1. Story number 2 is another famous story, and this is also something you probably know. There was an individual who in the mid-90s, during the .com era, when people were becoming millionaires overnight, maybe you know him, there were some people that became very, very, very wealthy overnight. Mamish, like from zero to like $100 million overnight. There was a young couple, I think they were in Flatbush, who became fabulously wealthy overnight, and they became very nervous. Ayin hara, the evil eye. I'm the same as everybody in my block. I go to the shul, all my friends, all my boys, and ayin hara, what am I going to do? So they went to Reb Chaim, first class, bought his jet. No, I'm joking. So he flew to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, and he said, what should I do? So what did Reb Chaim Kanievsky answer? He said, did you quit your job and go back to Koil now? Now you're wealthy. You don't know. Yeah, what? He said, well, back to Koil. I'm busier than ever. I can't do anything. I can barely. He said, did you have more chavrusas now, Mr. Tommy? Yeah, you can pay chavrusas? More chavrusas. I can barely keep up with those chavrusas. I have more chavrusas. He said, so there's not more Torah now because you're taking care. Who's going to be jealous of you? What's there to be jealous of then? That you could buy a watch, a nicer watch? Reb Chaim Kanievsky responded like this, not because he was trying to say like, oh, so Torah, no, because this was life. This is how he saw life. The whole point of everything in life, like the Mesil Sharm says right in the beginning, is to help you serve Hashem. So if you have more of all those things, they have more menuchas nefesh because you have more finite, whatever the case is. So more charusas, so more kailel. If you're not going to have more Torah, more kailel, so who's going to be jealous of you? There's another version of the story. Somebody else went there and he said, you ever made a Siyam Hashas? No. Siyam Sechta? No. One parak? No. You know, one abad? No. He's like, nah, you're all good to go. Don't worry. Nobody cares. The point is Torah, Torah, Torah. Everything about his life was Torah. And he saw these things with such a reality. This was his life. You know, there was another beautiful story that I heard from Rabbi Reisman. He said that he heard B'Shem Reb Chaim, that Reb Chaim, somebody said that, are you supposed to wash in Malava Malka? And he said that when people get to the next world, there's going to be a lot of things that they're going to say, I couldn't do that. I wasn't on that level. But he said, when people are going to see, what does it mean? And the value of washing from Malava Malka, even on one piece of bread, one small piece of bread, but just what they're going to say, oh, they're going to be mamish taken aback. That's something that Itaka could have done. And Rabbi Razman Shlita said that when he heard that from Reb Chaim, he took it upon himself, b'li neder, to wash every single Matz Shabbos from Reb Chaim. He said this. Like, who's not going to do that? And when I heard him say that, I started doing that. Also, b'li neder. But Rabbi say, we have to make a change in our lives because we have to see his passion for Torah, for mitzvahs, for reality. What's the pshat that you're washing? Because he saw the reality of life. The reality is Torah, is washing from Lav Malka, is doing the mitzvahs, is making kiddush on wine, and doing things in the most lechatchila way, because that's what life was about. There was nothing in his life but Torah. Rabbi say, every single one of us could step up our Torah a little bit more, could make our passion a little bit more on fire. All of us. Doesn't mean you learn the whole day. It doesn't mean you're finishing 11 pages of Zayar and this and that. That's not what it means. But it means that you're doing more than you were doing. It means you're doing more of a focus. You're trying to do the mitzvahs a little bit more with the chashiva. So there's another story, I'll just say very, very quickly. He couldn't find his lulav by Pesach. It's a famous story also. And he was very makbid on a minhag, the minhag to burn it with the thingy, with all the chametz. And it was a minhag. And the Rebbetzin told him, you have to go to sleep, it's late. And he was on his knees and trying to find it. He couldn't find it, mamish, nothing. And she said, you have to go to sleep, it's a minhag, you have to go. He's like, but this is a minhag, this is our minhag. And this is everything to us. Every part of our Avodas Hashem is something. And it's so chashuv, so important, so significant. Anyways, he ended up going to sleep, or that's what the Rebbetzin thought. And at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, whatever, she saw he wasn't there. And then she found him coming in from outside. He was looking through the garbage. She thought maybe somebody threw it out. Could you imagine? 3 in the morning, an older man already. And then finally, he did find it, like late at night, and he was like a whole burden was lifted off his shoulders because it was real to him. It meant something to him, and that's the Yisrael. Rabbi say, if we could walk away by realizing that the Torah has to be real to us, our passion, our fire, our focus, Avodas Hashem needs to be real. These Gedolim were such big people, and this is what they held dear to them. So obviously this is real. There's something here. So we have to take that upon ourselves also. A few minutes a day. I'm going to do 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. I'm going to learn totally focused. I'm going to listen to a shir totally focused. I'm going to wash every malava malka because this is what the purpose of life is. Torah. Rabbi said, let's remember that the people in the room of Rabbeinu HaKadosh were changed as people. Why? Because it affected them. It changed them. Let's make that change, Rabbi say. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you for joining this beautiful event.
Thank you, Rabbi Sperling. Our next speaker is Rabbi Eliezer Krohn. As you know, Rabbi Krohn is following in the footsteps of his tremendous father, Rabbi Pesach Krohn Shlita, and he's a Rabbi Eliezer Krohn. He's a Moel. He's an author. He came with a tremendous book by Art School, A Woman's Guide to Practical Halacha. He's a tremendous speaker. He speaks in seminaries. He speaks in lectures around the world. Rabbi Eliezer Krohn.
Hi, my name is Eliezer Krohn, and I was asked by Torah Anytime to share a personal incident that I had with Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky. So the truth of the matter is that although I spent, Baruch Hashem, 8 years in Eretz Yisrael, I wasn't the type of person to run around to Gedolim all day. I tried as much as I can to spend my time in the Beis Medrash. Perhaps I could have spent more, but I do have one incident that I witnessed from Reb Chaim Kanievsky, and it has made a tremendous reishim and a tremendous impression on me. And that is that I one time went to Bnei Brak together with my father, as a matter of fact, And we came to the house of Reb Chaim right when it was time for him to go to Ma'ariv. We davened Ma'ariv together with him, but it was right at that moment when it was ready, when it was time for him to leave his house and go to the Letterman Shul right next door to Ma'ariv. And Reb Chaim was an elderly individual at that point, and you wouldn't have necessarily put him on an Olympic track team, but the way he ran to Ma'ariv, or you could say maybe walked so fast, he flew. I could hardly catch up with him, that he was walking from his house to Ma'ariv. And the Shulchan Aruch tells us that a person should run to shul, should go very fast to shul. It's based on a Gemara in Brachas Davav that a person should go fast to the Beis HaKnesses. And Reb Chaim Kanievsky lived based on the Shulchan Aruch and the Gemara, and he flew to the Beis Medrash. And I was thinking that my father always says over based on a pasuk in Tehillim. In Tehillim it says, in Kapitel Kufya Tes, chapter 119, it said, David HaMelech says, King David tells us, Chashti v'loi hismamoti lishmor mitzvaysecha. I rushed and I didn't delay to keep your mitzvos. And why is there a double expression? I rushed and I didn't delay. Why doesn't it just say, I rushed, or I didn't delay? Why does it say two things, I rushed and I didn't delay? My father always says over that when you see someone rushing and running somewhere, it could be one of two reasons. Either because he wants to get there very fast and he wants to be on time and he's excited to do it, or it could be because he woke up late and he's late and that's why he's running, because he has to catch up and make up for lost time when he was running late. That's the double expression. Chashti v'lo yismamati. I rushed and I didn't delay. It's not because I delayed. I rushed to keep the mitzvahs because I was excited and I wanted to go with alacrity, with zrizos, to go do the mitzvahs. That was Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Every moment, every minute was accounted for, learning and helping people, answering questions, answering shaylas, till the last moment necessary to leave his house. He left his house not a moment too early, not a moment too late, and boom, as fast as he can, doesn't want to have to spend time walking, as fast as he can to Ma'ariv. Then they started Ma'ariv, of course, right when they got there. But that is a lesson to all of us. You come running to davening, and you'll see people running to davening, and you're not sure what time that shul davens. So you don't know, is the person rushing because he's excited to run to daven, or is it because he's running late? Let's take this lesson. Let's rush to do the mitzvahs. Don't do anything dangerous, but we have to do it with excitement that we want to do the mitzvahs. It's not a burden upon us, chas v'shalom. It's an opportunity. It's a responsibility. And we're excited to run, to follow the laws and the mitzvahs of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to daven, and to take our feet should run to the Beis Medrash and the Beis Knesset.
Thank you, Rabbi Krohn. Our next speaker is Rabbi Daniel Koren. As you know, Rabbi Koren is one of the rabbis of 18 Forshe, Shiner Shul, Beis Medrash Or Chaim. He's tremendous. He puts out clips, videos every single day, inspires so many people. By Daniel Koren.
I want to thank Stories to Inspire, Chazak, and of course Torah Anytime, the most amazing platforms of Torah all over the world. I want to start with Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. I had the schus to be by him a few times. And there's so many moifsim that are coming out. Moifsim is something that we speak about in Yetzias Mitzrayim, Leila Seder. Most of them are miracles that are beyond nature. I asked a good friend of mine who was very close to Reb Chaim for many years, I said, did you know that he had such Ruach HaKodesh? He said, yes, but you don't learn from Ruach HaKodesh. You don't learn from Moifsim. That's not going to change us. What will change us is something that he told me, something that he knew personally and he heard. He said, and I saw this, I viewed this so many times, Reb Chaim was so real and so truthful, and I think that was the secret to how he became Reb Chaim. And what I mean by that is the following story. Years, I think it was almost in the 70s, and Reb Chaim had finished a sefer. The sefer was on Kiddush HaChodesh, and he was incredibly happy. Something that, of course, Reb Chaim was a happy person. It was actually a great sense of humor. But this was unusual, and everyone recognized it and asked him, Saba, what's pshat? Reb Chaim, you've written so many svarim already. What's so special about this sefer? And he told him the following. He said, years ago, there was a conversation that took place with the Chazon Ish and big Talmidei Chachamim that was sitting with the Chazon Ish discussing Kiddush HaChodesh. Now, Kiddush HaChodesh, when it opens up, the Rambam knows how difficult it is. Now, Reb Chaim was a talented person. We know that he was very mukhshal. By the age of 13, he finished Shas. So he wasn't someone that wasn't knowledgeable. But he still had his limitations. And when he was sitting amongst his chabur, he came to join. And one of the Talmidei Chachamim, they said, Reb Chaim, this is not really for you. And he said it hurt him so much. For years, it was tzorev. Tzorev means it was burning him. So instead of becoming resentful and falling into a place of despair and saying, forget it, he said, I'm going to try to do the best. And one day I'm also going to be able to understand Kiddush HaChodesh and write a sefer on it. And when he finished the sefer, it was a celebration, not just of the sefer itself. It was a celebration of success. And success that came specifically when it was difficult and challenging and even maybe somewhat miserable. Instead of falling into despair, Reb Chaim's teaching us, be truthful with yourself. Know that you could do anything that Hashem wants you to do, and that Hashem is going to help you come through. And dafka, sometimes the most difficult and challenging places that we find ourselves are the opportunity for greatness. Thank you, Rabbi Kanievsky.
Thank you, Rabbi Koren. Our next speaker is Rabbi Yaakov Rahimi. As we know, Rabbi Rahimi is a tremendous speaker. He's the author of Mishnah Berurah Tiferet, tremendous movement and initiative of practical halacha, and is our great honor to go upon Rabbi Rahimi.
Thank you, Stories to Inspire. Thank you, Torah Anytime, and thank you, Chazak, for this event for the Gadol Ador Maran Sarah Torah. Chaim Kanievsky, Zechet Tzadik V'Kadosh Levracha. I'm going to say over a quick lesson with a story, I think has a tremendous lesson, and I think maybe it was a little bit overlooked. Everybody listened to the Levaya, everybody listened to the funeral of Chaim Kanievsky, Zechet Tzadik V'Kadosh Levracha, and over there, I go in Rabbi Zilberstein said over the famous story, which I heard many years ago. I read in the Sefer Alinu the Shabbat. And I'm sure it's already coming out of people's ears by now, this story, and you can watch the video yourself. But the famous story is that Chaim Kanievsky was learning the Sugya Havilchot Chagavim. He was learning the laws of grasshoppers. There are grasshoppers that might be kosher. The Yemenites, the Temanim, have a certain mitzvah, a certain tradition, that there are certain Chagavim, they have the simanim, the signs that make the Chagavim, a certain type of grasshopper, kosher. And again, I'm warning you, I know the story is going out of your ears already. It's been overused many times over the years, and especially since Reb Chaim Kanievsky passed away. But I want to bring out a tremendous message from the story. So the story goes, Reb Chaim Kanievsky was learning the Sugya Bi'iyun, the halachot, the laws of what is a kosher grasshopper, what is not. Now, part of knowing things clear as a rabbi, especially the Marana Posek Ador, a genius like Reb Chaim Kanievsky, is you have to know things thoroughly. I mean, you really have to know them. There's no playing around. You really have to know every nitty-gritty part of the halacha, why and if and what will happen and what's the source, from the Gemara all the way to the Psukim, back and forth, all the Rishonim, the Achonim. Anybody who learns the Sugya B'iyun, anybody who learns Gemara halacha in depth know what it means to really know halacha well. So how much more so Hagoyin Chaim Kanievsky want to know the halacha exactly 100%. But the problem is that you don't really find grasshoppers, especially not to look into them, to know exactly what defines the sign of a kosher grasshopper and not a kosher grasshopper. But the story goes that his wife actually said of a story, it's on video, the Rebbetzin, Batsheva Zecher Tzadik HaKadosh Levracha. She said over that one time, as her husband, Chaim Kanievsky, was learning the sugya of the grasshoppers, a grasshopper came to his table. Literally his study table that he was learning, a grasshopper came. He was able to see exactly what are the signs of a kosher grasshopper as he was learning the sugya of the halakha of the laws of grasshoppers. And then after he finished learning and examining this grasshopper in front of his face that came out of nowhere in Israel, in Bnei Brak, the grasshopper flew away. This story was said over by his own wife, and she was shocked that her husband was learning so biyun, yes, such siyata dishmaya. She was so happy that her husband was zocheh, had the merit that a grasshopper in our times, literally Hashem made him an open miracle, a grasshopper fell on his table, and he was able to examine it, the grasshopper left. Now this is a tremendous lesson. No matter how much we talk about Chaim Kanievsky, we can't even fathom what that means, the level of kedusha, the level of holiness, that a human being became such a big tzaddik, such a holy, righteous person, that Hashem will do such an open miracle like that for him. It's unbelievable the level that Chaim Kanievsky was, talking about him more, if anything, reduces his level of Kedusha, of his holiness. I want to bring out a tremendous point from the story that can apply to everybody. The question is not, is it a big miracle, is it not a big miracle that the grasshopper came to his table? The question is, how did Chaim Kanievsky get to such a level of holiness? How did he get to such a level of righteousness that Hashem performed such a miracle for him in the first place? The fact that a miracle happened to Chaim Kanievsky, to me, is not surprising. The fact that a grasshopper came on his table, what's the big deal? Hashem can do anything. Hashem runs the world. Every day is a miracle. Every moment of our life is a miracle. There are miracles all over the place. So to me, it's not surprising that a grasshopper literally came out of nowhere and fell on his table, on Chaim Kanievsky's table. The lesson from the story is not that the grasshopper came there because Hashem can do anything. The lesson of the story is, how did Chaim Kanievsky reach such a level that Hashem made an open miracle for him? The answer is, Rabotai, Chaim Kanievsky learned Torah. Very simple. He learned and he learned and he learned and he learned. He controlled himself and took over and over and over the Yetzirah and learned and learned and learned and learned. So the whole point of the story of the grasshopper is not the fact that a grasshopper came on his table, because that's pashut. A person who learns so much Torah, a person that's so holy, of course a grasshopper will come to your table. What's the big deal? You're so close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're so close to God that anything can happen to you, because Hashem is unlimited. And when you are close to Hashem, you yourself become unlimited. When you attach yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the closer you are to Hashem, the more unlimited you are. The less body of a person you are, the less of a physical person you are, the more of a spiritual person you are, the closer you get to Hashem, the more things can get done for you. Even open miracles like a grasshopper coming to your table. So the point of the story is not that an open miracle happened to him. The point of the story is, wow, look what happens when a human being that was born to this world just like me and you works on himself and learns Torah. Not just talks about Torah, actually learns Torah. It gave up everything in the world and he got a lot more, and that is Torah Virat Shamayim. A person that learns gets close to God. Open miracles for sure will happen to him. Why not? Hashem could do anything, and when you're so close to him, anything could be done. The lesson of the story is when those who try and those who plug away in Torah Virat Shamayim get very close to Hashem. When you get very close to Hashem, anything can be done. It's not surprising such an open miracle happened. It's surprising how a person learned so much Torah that such a miracle happens to him in the first place. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabbi Rahimi. Our next speaker is Rabbi Shlomo Landau. As we know, Rabbi Landau is the director of Torah Links in the New Jersey area. He's a tremendous author. He's a tremendous speaker, author, and tremendous koyach, a tremendous force for Klal Yisrael. And he does so much for Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Shlomo Landau.
It's not that long since the Petira, the passing of Maran Sarat Torah, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, and hundreds and probably thousands of amazing, remarkable, miraculous stories have been coming out about Reb Chaim. And the truth is that the vast majority of them are definitely true, because Reb Chaim was really above and beyond regular human life. I want to share a story which is not a moifus, it's not a miracle, it's not a wonder, but it's the reason and the cause for so many of the miraculous stories that are being said over and that were experienced by interactions that people had with Reb Chaim Zichron Livracha. There's a particular fellow in Yerushalayim, his name is Reb Shimon Gerlitz. He's a big Talmid Chacham, and he was close to Reb Chaim for the last 4 decades. And he interacted with Reb Chaim all the time. This past Erev Shabbos, he said over a Maisa, which is truly mind-boggling. One evening, he paid a visit to Reb Chaim Kanievsky in his home on Rehov Rashbam. That day, the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, had come to visit Reb Chaim to talk to him about something. And there was tremendous fanfare when the Prime Minister came. They sealed off Rehov Rashbam. There were cameramen. It was all over the media, splashed all over the media, that the Prime Minister had come to visit Reb Chaim Kanievsky. So later that day, when Reb Shimon came to speak to him, he said to him, it was such an amazing Kiddush Hashem, as the pasuk says, "V'ro kolame haaretz ki shem Hashem nikra alecha v'yaru mimeka," that all the Amaratzim, even the simple folk, the Hamoinam, they'll see ki shem Hashem nikra alecha, that Hashem's name rests upon you, v'yaru mimeka, and there'll be a reverence. It's amazing. What a Kiddush Hashem. Reb Chaim looked at him and said, What Kiddush Hashem? He goes, the Kiddush Hashem that happened right here on Rechav Shbam in your apartment. Reb Chaim said, you're talking about the siyum that my grandson made in my house earlier today. So Reb Shimon says, yeah, that's also Kiddush Hashem, but I'm talking about the fact that the Rosh HaMemshalah came, that the Prime Minister came. And Reb Chaim looked at him seriously and said, I don't know what you're talking about. I have zero recollection. That means to say, the Prime Minister came and discussed pertinent matters with Reb Chaim. And Reb Chaim was 100% aware and fully into it when it happened. But as soon as it was over, it was material, mental material, that was totally irrelevant, that didn't need to stay in Reb Chaim's databank. And literally, it dissipated. It was as if it was never there. That is where the power of a Gadol B'Yisrael comes from. That his mind, that his heart, that his essence is chock full of only one thing, and that is Avodas Hashem, Limud HaTorah. It's because of that when he says something, when he advised something, when he thought about something, it was from the purest of sources, and it had the most incredible impact. And it's the words that he said and the advice that he gave was everlasting. That was Reb Chaim. He was Kol Kulei Torah. He was like a Malach Hashem Tzavakos, 100% spiritual, 100% ruchni. And of course, the hundreds and hundreds of stories that are being said over by Reb Chaim were able to happen. The tremendous miracles, the maifsim, the wonders. And this, when a gadol passes away, it's a mechayiv. It's an obligate. It obligates us to realize that human beings are capable of attaining such incredibly lofty levels. And at least in our own way, in a small, tangible, real way, of doing something to upgrade our priorities, of focusing 100% when we're learning, and kal v'chaim, we're turning off our phones and not being distracted by them so we could be 100% into the learning. And more importantly, making kviyos itim l'Torah, making our learning the keva, the permanence, and the rest of our life filling in with arai, with the blanks, with the temporary. And now, after the gadol passes, we're still in the shleishim. A person, if they tap into those incredible qualities and they make a real Kabbalah, it's so much more powerful than it usually is. Let's take this as a time for his ayurus, a time to arouse ourselves spiritual. Let's recommit the things in our life that are really important to the nitzchias, to the eternity, and what we do will have an everlasting effect on us and be a tremendous ili neshama for the neshama of this incredible Sar HaTorah.
Thank you, Rabbi Silva. We want to thank everyone for joining us this evening for this very special event, inspiring event, learning from the stories and lessons of the Gadol Ador, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, Zecher Tzaddik V'Kadosh Livracha. And we should each take a lesson, a story, a lesson, something, and share it to our friends and really internalize and apply it to our life. That'd be a tremendous remembrance and schus for Rav Chaim Kanievsky, Zecher Tzaddik V'Kadosh Livracha. I want to thank all the Rabbanim, all the speakers, all the rabbis who inspired us this evening. We appreciate taking from their busy schedule to inspire us this evening. I want to thank, obviously, the partner organizations to this evening, the Chazak organization, Talisman, Siyam Yomi, and Torah Anytime. So the Chazak organization organizes events and shiurim like tonight, virtually and in person, which inspired thousands of people throughout the world. Chazak's main mission is to organize after-school programs Sunday to Thursday for public school students in over 20 different locations currently, and with the ultimate goal of hopefully helping them transfer to yeshiva. In the last 5 years alone, Chazak has transfer over 1,200 children from public school yeshiva, which is a tremendous accomplishment. But as we know, there's so many more Jewish public school students who are in the public school, and they really need an authentic Jewish education, and Chazak can help them with that. If someone knows someone has children in public school like that, transfer, either be involved in one of the go to one of the Chazak's after school programs or transfer to yeshiva. Reach out to Chazak at 718-285-9132, 718-285-9132, or email us at psty@chazak.org, psty@chazaq.org. I want to thank the Talisman, the Zal Epstein, for his tremendous work for Klal Yisrael. For all your tzitzis needs, for all your talis needs, if you need tzitzis for Ashkenaz, for Sephardi, for Chabad, for Breslov, for whatever, according to whichever minhag custom, reach out to the Talisman at 856-745-9588. 856-745-9588 for your Judaica needs. For your, if you have a question about tzitzis, if you need a tzitzis demonstration in your shul, your community, reach out to the talisman in your school. Reach out 856-745-9588. 856-745-9588. We'd like to thank Mr. Daniel Aguilar from Stories to Inspire for all the Stories to Inspire does for Klal Yisrael. As we know, Stories to Inspire, reach out to them, check out their website, stories2inspire.org. They have thousands of people who see their quotes, their videos, their audios, their podcasts. It's really tremendous. Find out more information at stories2inspire.org. To thank CM Yomi. What is CM Yomi? Like, well, okay, it sounds like a good idea. What's CM Yomi? CM Yomi is a way that the entire Klal Yisrael could finish the entire Mishnayos, the Mishnah, the oral Torah, the oral Torah called the Mishnah every single day. And how is that done? Because everybody takes upon themselves one Mishnah that they're going to do. And you have 4,224 people that sign up for this, take upon themselves one Mishnah, and every month they could change their Mishnah if they like, and that's how all Klal Yisrael could finish the entire Mishnayos, the Mishnah every single day. And because we know that if you have one person, maybe he learns a few Mishnayos, but this person doesn't learn Mishnayos. But if you get yourself, you get some other people, and we all as in unison join together as one nation, as Am Yisrael, as Am Echad, as one nation, then we can all do it together. And as we know, the tremendous power of a tzibur, of a community getting together, Jewish people getting together, it's a tremendous initiative. So everyone sign up at cmyomi.org, cmyomi.org, SYUMYOMI.org, cmyomi.org. Or you can find out more information at call or text number 414-666-YOMI, 414-666-9664. Or you can call into the hotline at 718-664-YOMI, 718-664-9664. I'd like to thank Torah Anytime for streaming this event. So it's all they do for Klal Yisrael. Download their new app, the Torah Anytime app, the Daily Dose app, in your Apple Store or your Google Play Store. And everyone should, we should only hear Besaros Tovos. Have a great night.